5 o'clock. Here is the world news at 5. First, the top stories. Amosu condemns customs on killing of 2 persons over smuggled rice. Curfew in Ile-Ife following ethnic clashes, leaving several people dead. PDP set to hold Congress in 5 states ahead of June National Convention. University students to die by hanging for stabbing colleague to death. On the foreign scene, South Africa revokes its withdrawal from UN Criminal Court, and 19 teenage girls die in fire outbreak at a children care home in Guatemala. Good evening, I am Chienye Egwuonwu, bringing you the details of the news shortly. Now, Ibikunle Amosu of Ogun State has condemned the Nigeria Customs Service, whose officers shot dead 2 persons while attempting to intercept smuggled rice at Kobakwe along the Abeokuta-Shiun Interchange Expressway. The governor, in a statement by the Secretary to the State Government, Taiwo Adeoluwa, says he does not support any act of sabotage but will not tolerate acts of recklessness and unprofessional conduct of some of the customs officers in the state. Reports of incidents reaching the state government, according to the governor, have it that some customs officers suspecting a car was carrying bags of smuggled rice along the expressway shot at it and in the process killed the driver and another person instantly. The governor explains that the customs officers, on seeing the consequence of their action, immediately abandoned the chase of the car and fled the scene. According to the governor, it took the intervention of a delegation of the state government and security agencies, including the Army, Police, Department of State Security Service, Trace, and others that visited the scene on his instruction to douse the tension created by the incident. Before then, Amosu says that aggrieved motorists and residents had blocked the expressway for over 3 hours protesting the killing. Urging people in the state to remain calm, the governor says the state government expects the customs service to investigate the incident and also punish the officers responsible for the killing according to the law of the land. Governor Ibikunle Amosu of Ogun State says the state's proposed light rail project will link the Lagos-Kano standard gauge rail track along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway on its way to Ogun State capital. Amosu made this known to newsmen on the sideline of the groundbreaking ceremony of the new Lagos-Ibadan rail project in Lagos. The governor says the proposed state light rail project will also link the new Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail line at Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The state, according to the governor, will benefit more from the new Lagos-Ibadan rail project because 80% of the rail line will pass through Ogun State. Osun State government has declared a dusk to dawn curfew in Ile-Ife following the ethnic clash which left several people dead and injured. Director of Communication and Strategy in the Governor's Office, Semiu Okolawo, in a statement issued on Wednesday night, says the curfew will last between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. till Friday. Okolawo says the cause of the clashes is being investigated. To contain the clashes from spreading, more mobile policemen were deployed to the town on Wednesday night. The Oni of Ife, Oba Elito Ogunwusi, describes the fighting as unfortunate and asked security agencies not to take sides. Which began on Tuesday night was more pronounced in Lagere, Olaoluwa and Sabo areas of the town, with several shops and stores set ablaze. Governor Ayodele Fayose of Ekiti State says he does not need the service of policemen and operatives of the Department of State Security Service (DSS) for personal protection. The governor calls for the withdrawal of the security operatives from the government house in Ado-Ekiti. Fayose stated this while addressing an event to mark this year's International Women's Day in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti State capital. He says people of Ekiti can provide adequate security for him. PDP National Chairman Senator Ali Sharif plans to conduct state congress in 5 states preparatory to holding of the party's national convention in June. The states are Lagos, Oyo, Sokoto, Kwara, and Anambra State. The party's National Secretary, Professor Wale Oladipo, in a statement after the meeting of the National Working Committee at PDP National Headquarters in Abuja, says the Office of the National Organizing Secretary had been mandated to produce a timetable for the Congress. Meanwhile, PDP's Senate caucus has rejected a request by Alimadu Sharif for a meeting. The Senate Minority Leader, Godswill Akpabio, told newsmen after the meeting of the caucus in Abuja that their position is that the leadership crisis should be settled out of court. Italy has deported another batch of 37 Nigerians back to the country. The 37 deported Nigerians, all males, were flown into Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos on Tuesday night aboard a chartered plane. Last February 23, Italy also deported 33 other Nigerians. Also from Libya, another batch of 171 Nigerians stranded in the North African country returned on Tuesday. The arrival of the 171 Nigerians raised the number of Nigerians who had voluntarily returned to the country from Libya in the past 3 months to 643. Last week, South Africa deported more than 70 Nigerians, while more than 500 were deported last month from Cameroon, Germany, and Belgium. A 200-level student of Leeds University, Ibadan, has been sentenced to die by hanging by an Ibadan High Court for killing his colleague. The prosecution told the court that the accused, Moshood Owolabi, of the Physical and Health Department of the university, stabbed a colleague to death with bottles. Justice Adegboye Dagbolagunte, in his judgment, says the prosecution proved his case against the accused beyond reasonable doubt and should die by hanging. The church urged parents to always monitor their children to guard them against bad behaviors. You are still listening to the World News at 5 from Rock City 101.9 FM. Up next, we bring you foreign, business, and sports news. Please stay with us. Now on the foreign scene, South Africa has revoked its withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. It came after the High Court ruled last month that the government's move to pull out was unconstitutional and invalid. Africa had notified the UN of its intention to leave last October, saying the ICC pursued regime change. The decision followed a dispute over Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir's visit to South Africa in 2015. The authorities there refused to arrest Mr. Bashir, despite him facing an ICC arrest warrant over alleged war crimes. Deciding on the government's move to withdraw from the court, the High Court ruled in favor of the opposition Democratic Alliance (DA), which argued that the government had to first seek parliamentary approval. The Gambia, under new President Adama Barrow, has also recently revoked its withdrawal from the court. U.S. officials have dismissed China's suggestion that North Korea could halt its missile and nuclear tests in exchange for a suspension of U.S. military activity in the region. The U.S. State Department said it was not a viable deal, while the UN ambassador said North Korea was not rational. China's suggestion came after North Korea launched 4 ballistic missiles, breaking international sanctions. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting on Wednesday, having issued a stronger than usual condemnation of the latest North Korean test. The U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, later told reporters that all options were on the table regarding North Korea. 19 teenage girls have died in a blaze at a children's care home in Guatemala. About 25 other people were injured in fire at the Virgin de Asunción shelter in San Jose Pinula, about 15 miles to the capital, Guatemala City. Police said the blaze may have been started by some of the residents, and all those who died were aged between 14 and 17. A deadly fire at a children's home in Mexico in 2009 left 49 people dead. Next is the business news. The Buhari administration has unveiled its long-awaited economic recovery plan targeting strong growth with sweeping reforms planned. Under the plan spanning a period between 2017 and 2020, released by the Budget and Planning Ministry, the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) targets a market-determined foreign exchange rate. The Apex Bank also wants to review the ban placed on 41 goods and services to purchase foreign exchange. The plan targets an inflation rate of 15.74% this year, going down to 12.4% in 2018. That's against the current 18.7%, regarded as the highest in the last 11 years. Other targets of the Economic Recovery Plan includes an average gross domestic product (GDP), the growth rate of 4.62% yearly, up to 7% in 2020. Funds will also be raised through the sale of some public assets, while tax on luxury goods will go up from 5% to 15%. Finally, in the world news at 5 is the sports news. Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations hosts Zambia have booked their place in the final of the tournament after defeating South Africa 1-0 after extra time. Zambia were the more forceful team through the first half, but they were unable to create any clear chances with which to test SA goalkeeper Mondli Mpoto. The deadlock was finally broken in the second half of extra time, and Prosper Chidia faced in a great ball from a free kick, and Edward Chilofia's glancing header had the beating of Mpoto to make it 1-0 to Zambia in the 110th minute. The hosts will face either Senegal or Guinea in the finals on Sunday, 12th March. Barcelona made Champions League history by becoming the first team to overturn a first-leg 4-0 deficit and knock out Paris Saint-Germain to reach the quarterfinals for the 10th successive season. The Spanish champions were 5-3 down on aggregate in the 88th minute, but scored 3 goals in the final 7 minutes in one of the greatest European ties of all time. Neymar's free kick and penalty, followed by Sergio Roberto's 95th minute winner, sealed the victory on an incredible night at the Nou Camp. That was the world news at 5, and just before we go, the major stories once again. Amosu condemned customs on killing of 2 persons over smuggled rice. Curfew in Ile-Ife following ethnic clashes, leaving several people dead. PDP set to hold Congress in 5 states ahead of June National Convention. University students to die by hanging for stabbing colleague to death. On the foreign scene, we reported that South Africa revoked its withdrawal from UN Criminal Court, and 19 teenage girls died in fire outbreak at a children care home in Guatemala. For more stories and to listen to us live, please log on to our website www.rockcityfmradio.com/live. Thank you very much for listening. I am Chienye. Good evening.